Okay, the time has come for X2 in Google to get along. So this hopefully will help explain how that's going to work. So there will be an API, or in other words, a connecting software between the two programs. That API is called One Roster. And this is important to know because you'll see that in your gradebook, and I just don't want that to alarm you. So this export is a one-way information push. So the way we have it set up at NASIT is that teachers can manually link their new or existing Google Classroom classes to your X2 gradebook. So it will push returned assignments to your gradebook. Note that it is returned assignments because anything that's in draft form will not be able to be exported. Okay, so with that being said, there's a GIF here on the next slide that will show you how to turn it on within Google Classroom. We expect our IT team, our district-wide IT team, to turn it on the first day of the new term, which is April 11th. So let's see here. All right, so up to the cogwheel in Classroom, down past General, and link to class. This is your SIS. SIS is X2. Pick the correct one. Those should populate with all of your X2 classes and link them. You can just as easily unlink there as well. So now when you go into the gradebook, you can select all or just one or two. Okay, unfortunately, Google Classroom does not support different categories for their grades. So they will all go into one category. So there's a bit of setup in order to receive these grades. When you first create your assignment in Google Classroom and return it to Aspen, Aspen will create a one roster default category, like I mentioned. So you'll see something that looks like this, and this will be automatically generated. However, again, if you have different categories in your X2, it will go here, but then you can switch them out and change them to the proper category that you desire. If you do total points, and again, this is starting at the very beginning of quarter 4, if you do total points, then you can just rename this category and just have it. It will be one roster default, but you can rename it to say total points and it will just feed right in. Okay. So again, the assignments will be added to the one roster default category, and then so once the assignments are stored in Aspen, you can reassign them to other categories if you choose, just like I just mentioned. Okay, so we do want to make sure that we have a default grade scale. So without this, new assignments can't be created from the API. So when you go into Gradebook and you select the appropriate class and then you hit Details, then click Categories, then you'll be able to see this here, which is your grade scale and your entry mode. These are the two that are most important. The others do not jive with Classroom right now, so it doesn't matter. But these should be high school grade scale and numeric only. That's what one roster supports. If you are planning on having separate categories that you will eventually be moving them from this one roster category into your own, I do suggest changing this to private as a default, and then once you change those assignments into the proper categories, they'll be adjusted correctly, so that way you don't have a student or a parent looking and it's in the wrong category, so perhaps it's weighted differently. So I would have it private until you're sure that those are correct. Okay, so the syncing for teachers, and this was shown in the GIF before. Again, you do need to make sure that when you're in the Grades tab of Google Classroom, that you return all of your assignments before you can sync them. So when you hover over this assignment here, the 3 dots show up and return all. Now, the same thing, if there was a student over here under this category, if I hover and it's the 3 dots, I can then return that one and sync that one student. So if a student passed something in late, you can sync them individually as well. Okay. So again, when you are syncing them, you can see that the category column is again that one roster. Okay. Now, one thing to know, well, a few things to know. In order for the grades to sync, the due date needs to be within the current SIS grading period, and the post time needs to be before the due date. Let me show you why this is. Okay. When you are in Google Classroom and you create an assignment, if you make it due on August 3rd, this one roster will have this go into X2 not just as the due date, but also the assigned date. So we can't have the assigned date after the due date, right? Because we usually get an X2 error for that anyway. So that's what they're looking for here. Also, in order for the grades to sync, they want a title needs to be unique in your class, and it can't be too long. I'm not sure how long is too long, but I'll get back to you on that. And again, the post time needs to be within the current grading period. So that's not too much of a shock. And again, the grades must be in a return state. All right. Thank you.